meeting to order. I would like to welcome you to our meeting this evening, and I would ask, please, if you have cell phones, to please turn them off at this time. We will stand and have pledge of allegiance by Councilmember Joyce and prayer by Mayor Pro Tem Reed.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you would like to pray with us, would you please remain standing? Dear God, we come before you today as we seek your guidance and wisdom as we gather for this city council meeting. We ask that you grant our leaders discernment and clarity of thought as we make decisions that impact our community. Help us to prioritize the needs of all citizens to seek justice and equality and to work together in harmony. May our discussions be respectful, constructive, and focused on common good. We pray for your blessing of our city and our leaders. May we be a community that values compassion, kindness, and well-being of all. Amen?
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much. Our council members are present. Approval of our meeting minutes, our work session on November the 1st and our regular meeting November 25th.
Mayor, before you get to that, do you mind if I make a slight amendment to the agenda for tonight?
Sure, go ahead.
With your permission and the permission of the council, I'd like to pull Section 8C, the commission appointment policy, to our next work session. It really kind of belongs better on a work session, I think, and we can do that at the next, I believe I've talked with Deborah, and we'll try and get that on our next work session agenda. If that's all right with you.
That's fine. We can get a motion in a second to remove this off the agenda tonight.
So moved. Second.
Are there any more discussions? All in favor, show of hands. Opposed is none. We will remove this off until our work session for March.
Thank you.
Sure. Again, approval of meeting minutes of our work session November the 1st, the regular meeting November 25th.
Are we approving the entire consent agenda, Mr. Mayor, or just?
And the renewal designation resolution of the city of Civility.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposed is none, vote unanimously. Thank you so much. No zoning hearing tonight, old business. I believe that on Jay. We're going to talk about House Bill 581.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. We have spoken about this at the two past work sessions, but you all wanted to do it here in a public meeting, which I commend. And so I know you are familiar, but for the public here, HB 581 was a proposed constitutional amendment to the state of Georgia that was voted on by the people of the state of Georgia and ratified by the people of the state of Georgia in the November election, and is related to property taxes. And so in this bill, it gives the cities the option to opt in to that policy or opt out of that policy. Opting into that policy would, for homestead exemption qualified properties, which means it's your primary residence that you live in, it would cap the amount that it could go up each year, your home value increase according to the tax assessors. And that is capped by, it's supposed to be related to the inflation rate, but it is determined by the state of Georgia. And so those would only go up a percentage based on what the state of Georgia determines to be the inflation rate. That would only apply to homestead properties. It would not apply to rental, residential properties, commercial properties, industrial properties, and the like. If you were to opt out, it would stay as it is now, which is based on the fair market value determined by the county tax assessor's office of what your property is worth. I've heard a lot of pros and cons to this bill on both sides. I think here in Madison, the approval rate for voting on this constitutional amendment was 65%, somewhere in that neighborhood. So if the pros to opting in is that obviously it gives the homestead people in the city of Madison some sort of tax relief. It would come in the long-term future of the city of Madison, a little bit of a shortfall that you need to make up as far as income to the city. It's not that you're losing tax value, it is that as the properties increase slower, you're getting less millage rate compared to those home values, so less money coming into the city. If you opt out, it kind of keeps the status quo, and so it's easier to project. There is a potential in the long-term future, if you opt in, that you would have to find some other revenue source for the city to make up that difference, whether that be an increase in millage rate or finding some other revenue source, fees, or whatever. If you opt in and the county opts in and the remainder of the cities of the county of Madison opt in, it gives you the opportunity to go after a special option sales tax called the FLOST in this scenario, which would be a 1% increase on sales tax throughout the county for the sole purpose of offsetting that difference that we're talking about, to give the city relief it needs from granting this homestead exemption. If you want to opt in, you have to do nothing. We don't need to say anything. We can just move on and let the March 1st deadline pass, even though the General Assembly is talking about extending that to May 1st. If you want to opt out, you need to have 3 public hearings, listen to the public, and then have a vote all before March 1st. So we are running on a tight deadline here if you all want to opt out. That is the general gist of things. I am happy to answer any questions that you all have on this bill. I am unfortunately very familiar with it, so.
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Sure.
Could you tell me how it will affect the value of the homes if we opt in?
If you opt in, so the only value that would change would be for the homestead exemption qualified properties, which is it's your primary residence, you own the home, you live in the home. It would just, I'll give an example. If you bought a house or your home value currently is $200,000, just to throw out a figure, and the inflation rate next year determined by the state of Georgia is 3%, it would go from $200,000 to $206,000, and then so on in perpetuity, however they determine every single year. If you opt out, the tax assessor, which is what they do now, they reevaluate it every year, every other year, every 3 years based on the fair market value. So you might get a huge spike in increase every year or two. So I think the point of the bill is to level off that increase, but it comes at the disadvantage of the city, if you view it that way, that there would, in 10 years from now, there would be a significant difference in what a $200,000 home is now compared to what it is 10 years from now.
So kind of on that vein, if, it seems like one of the causes of the big jumps in property appraisals is when it's been sold and it's been purchased at a price twice of what it was 20 years ago.
Correct.
This would still put a cap on that, even though you bought it at twice what the value was, it's still,
So right now, your home, for example, Mr. Joyce, is if your neighbor sells their house for twice as much as you bought it, yours is being affected by the fair market value of that. So your home value in the tax assessor's eyes is going up because your neighbor just sold it for twice what you bought it for. If you opt in, you would not feel that effect of your neighbor buying the house for twice as much. He would, because if you sell it, it resets. So it resets. So if you sell your house, whoever purchased it resets to whatever they purchased it for. But your neighbor that bought it 5 years ago would still be going up at that incremental inflation rate, if that makes sense.
thank you.
Okay, are there any more questions for Jay? Thank you, Jay.
Oh, sorry, I have one more, just only because you raised the issue about making up the difference of the potential lost revenue from the taxes with either, as you said, raising the millage, raising the tax rate, or going with a flossed kind of thing, and to make up that difference. And I know there's a lot of mixed feelings about that, but my question would be that kind of the question that would be put to our constituents. They would vote on that like we do on all the SPLOST, LOS, all those.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. The FLOST would be a vote by the citizens of Morgan County again, and has to get approved again. So it's not, if you opt in, you're not guaranteed the floss. That would go back to a referendum for the people to vote on.
Right. Thank you.
Yep.
So the two don't necessarily go hand in hand. You can opt in, you can get the property tax cap. It doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna be
Right.
imposing a sales tax.
Yes.
You do have to kind of find the revenues, I suppose, somewhere, but it doesn't have to be through the floss method. Right?
And yes, that is correct. And the opposite is if you opt out, no one in the county could go for floss because you all have to, so Morgan County, Madison, Buckhead, Rutledge, whoever else is out there, they all have to opt in for the whole county and the cities to be able to go for the floss. So it's not like you can opt in and Rutledge opt out and go for the floss. It's got to be an all or nothing countywide.
So let me ask, if I may, one more quick question. If everyone opts in, meaning they knew nothing and we're all in on it, and then November rolls around and there's the potential of floss being on the, do we as a county have to put that on, or does it show up on the ballot? It will show up on the ballot from above.
Yeah, the county, if everybody opts in, the county has the choice to put it on the ballot. They do
Oh,
not,
okay.
they do not have they do not have to put it on the November election. They can put it on next year, the year after, whenever, because, and I should have said this earlier, this is a one-time choice of opting in and opting out. So you can't opt in and opt out next year or vice versa. You're
Right.
all in or all out right now, before
Right.
March 1st. So, but there is leeway of when you call that flossed referendum, or the county does, not you.
I see. So it's not automatic. It's up to the county to decide
Correct.
if they're going to do that or not, and when that goes on the ballot.
Correct.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I think that's it. So it's back to our council for discussion, to opt in or opt out. And I would just say before we get started that it was put on our ballot, I think, back in our last election. And the citizens, our city and our county, voted overwhelmingly. In the county, the total vote yes was 7,937, and no was 4,372. And in our city, yes was 1,394, and no was 787 votes. So I think if our citizens have spoken as to what they would like, and this was their choice, I don't know how we as a city can go back and renege on what the voters of our city has asked us to do. And I'll leave it at that.
I think I would tend to agree with you, Mayor. I mean, it's not too often we get an opportunity to have some kind of relief from Atlanta and our property taxes. This is not an ideal bill by any means. There's a lot of improvements could have been made, but they weren't made, and here we are, we're kind of faced with that choice, and it's pretty clear to me that the overwhelming number of our citizens want this, and we'll have to worry about whether we need to cut our spending to offset the loss of revenue, or whether we need to find other ways of raising it, but that can be at a later date. I can't see voting against an opportunity to get some relief on our property taxes, my personal feeling.
Are there any other comments from my council members?
Yes, sir, I have one comment.
Sure.
I do agree that our citizens spoke, but I would really like to know if they understood what they were voting for. We have so many people that go in and read what's on the ballots and don't understand exactly what it's saying because of the way that it's worded. So some of our citizens did speak. Can they hear me now? Can you all still hear me? Okay. And some of them voted and did not understand. So I did want a public hearing, and I guess this is it, and this is who showed up. I wanted them to understand exactly what it meant and not just read it and just vote for something. Because there have been times that I've been in going in to vote myself and get in and I look like Scooby-Doo. You read it and you have to read it again, and you have to read it again. So, yes, they did make a statement, but some of them probably just hit yes or no and walked out, because what was important was the presidential race and the sheriff's race. So I did want us to go back and make sure that the citizens understood what the yes and the no was for, and how much it affected property taxes and home values.
If I could ask, Mayor, have any of us received any communications from our citizens about the pros and cons of this issue?
I have not.
I have not.
I heard from a citizen who just said, it was overwhelmingly voted on in favor, and his sentiments were the same as Eric's, that you shouldn't go against what the public voted for, and I tend to agree as well. So with that, if it's right for a motion, Mayor, I move that we will opt in do we need a motion or just not do anything?
You can do either way. You can make a motion to opt in, or you can just do nothing and let March 1st pass. It's up to you all.
Okay.
I think it'd be good to put it on the record, so.
Well, I move that we opt in to House Bill 581.
Second.
Are there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. 3, yes, opposes, 1. Are there any more discussion? Motion is carried. Thank you so much. Matters on alcohol revision, Jay?
Again, we have discussed this extensively. This is related to the special event facility license that we spoke about last time, and I've made some changes since our work session based on our discussion in that work session. And so the summary is that special event facilities that qualify and serve 50% food income will be allowed to get a pouring license, serve alcohol, sell alcohol. In addition, although I've caught a typo and I need to change it before we sign, the temporary license, special event license, will not be changed other than increasing it from 12 to 24 per year. That's what I heard you all say. So that'll still be available for the cultural center and whoever else would like to do that. And then the downtown entertainment district, we have changed that to being open season every single day to when the city manager declares that to be available on the big events of the city or holidays of the city. Any other questions?
Is this a discussion item, or I don't have the actual attachment?
I can hand it to you.
Were you anticipating a vote on this tonight?
Thank you.
You all want to.
Okay.
We did.
We can talk about it more.
I mean, do we have to approve this tonight? I know we got some.
No, you don't have to.
So will you give some chance to just read over it?
Sure.
And maybe in our work session, we can talk
Absolutely.
about it. So our council members okay with that?
Yeah.
Yes, is this the same one that we talked about at the work session for Ms. Haley Jane?
Yes, other than the changes that we talked about in the work session.
I think we asked Jay to go back and tweak it, So, yeah. So, thank you. Arbor Day Proclamation, Jill Rao.
Hello, my name is Jill Reale. I work in the as a planner in the Planning and Development Office, and I also staff the Green Space Conservation Commission. This year marks Madison's 35th year as a Tree City USA. In order to maintain this status, we have to have a tree board, a tree ordinance, maintain a community forestry program, and finally observe Arbor Day annually, which Madison has been doing for the past 35 years, which is no small feat. So to celebrate, the Green Space Conservation Commission is looking to host their first tree week, their first annual tree week. This will begin on Friday, February 21st, with a planting celebration in Lambert Park. I hope you can all attend. As well as on Saturday, there will be 2 hikes hosted by our esteemed naturalist, David Burke. And finally, we will wrap up with our film festival on Sunday. So I gave you all a flyer up there. I'm happy to print some for anyone who is interested, but if you have time, we would love if you could attend any of the events. Also here to help us celebrate today is Miss Cameron Palmer. She is the president of the Madison Morgan Junior Conservancy, and we would, on behalf of the City of Madison, we are so grateful to have her here, and she will be reading the proclamation. Thank you.
Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees, and whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed through the nation and the world, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. And whereas Madison has been recognized as a Tree City USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation and desires to continue its tree planting ways. Therefore, we, the Mayor and the City Council of the City of Madison, do hereby proclaim February 21st, 2025 as Arbor Day in the City of Madison, and we urge all citizens to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands and to support our city's urban forestry program. And further, we urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the hearts and promote the well-being of future generations. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We get a motion and a second to approve this proclamation.
I move we approve the proclamation.
I second the motion.
Are there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, none. Vote is unanimous. We're going to ask the young lady to come back and read, or Jill, we're going to stand and get a picture.
Have a
behind.
group shot. Come on, Mary Ann. What's that? It's signed.
What about that?
It's,
Oh, if you want everybody to go over there.
oh, we have 2? Are they the same ones?
Hey, Jill, go back and get next to the Tree City flag and get a better photo op. Oh, John, stay in, come on now.
What did you sign up to?
Come be a tree.
I did. How is it that I didn't see it?
Hey, Eric and Betsy, will y'all hop on that side so we just balance out a little bit? And ladies, I'm gonna ask y'all to split it just a little bit so we can see the tree logo, because they like us to send them in, right? Thank you. That side, please, ma'am. Just stand right there by Betsy. Perfect. Okay. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you. Stop. Just like being in kindergarten. Used to have better. What?
Mr. Whitney's first name is George. This is George Whitney.
How's that?
We have, let's see, current lease laws. Eric.
Thank you, Mayor. If you recall, this was originally on our agenda at our last meeting, and because of a full agenda of that meeting, when I asked if we could just move this to this meeting, even though this is just a discussion item. We're not really expected to do any kind of vote or any proposals.
If you will hold for just a moment, Gary, I've sort of skipped over something. The Gurma, Georgia First Responder PTS program. I apologize, Karen, for just.
Mr. Mayor, you're okay. You could have skipped right on over me. No worries. Thank you, Mayor and Council. So according to House Bill 451, it was set forth that public entities were required to provide insurance and coverage for those first responders who develop the diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder during their time of service. And so getting in line and compliance with that House bill, GIRMA, which is the Georgia Interlocal Risk Management Agency, has worked with partners to develop insurance policies through GMA, which is our policy holder. GIRMA holds the policy for us, and as members of the GIRMA fund, we are to participate in the fund as a member and set forth this resolution, which is before you on today. So, Mr. Mayor, we are already required to comply with the law, so we're asking that the mayor and council agree to approve this resolution and sign it forth on this 10th day of February.
That's not.
I move that we approve the GIRMA Georgia First Resolution.
Second.
Second.
Are there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, none, vote unanimously. Thank you so much.
Thank you for taking care of our first responders.
Yes.
And thank you.
Current lease law, Councilmember Joyce.
Whatever I said earlier, just repeat that. I'm not sure where I stopped, but anyway. So this was brought to me by a resident of District 3, which at the moment is not represented on the council, so I'm kind of bringing it on behalf of that citizen. I was a little surprised. Maybe a lot of you are, maybe you know more than I do, but I always kind of assumed that we had a leash law. We do have a leash law in Madison in our ordinances. However, it would seem, as it's come to my attention, that it's got a loophole about 28 feet wide right through the middle of it. And let me just kind of read you what it says in our ordinance. This is, let's see, Article 6, Section 14 to 35, I believe it is. So, excuse me, Section 14 to 114. Confinement, referring to the leash law. Okay, a dog, and I'm quoting now, a dog off the premises of the owner, so this doesn't apply to your yard. Your dog can run crazy in your yard, but off the premises of the owner must be controlled by means of a leash, comma, provided, however, that if a dog consistently heeds its owner's verbal commands, it need not be leashed. Kind of renders a leash requirement a little bit shaky in my mind. It need not be leashed to be deemed under control so long as it remains in sight of its owner and remains responsive to the owner's verbal command. The dog shall be controlled by a responsible person. So I think I've discussed this a little bit with my colleague at the end down there, Ms. Councilwoman Wagenhauser, and she's got a different opinion on this, and I'm looking forward to hear what she might have to say as well as the rest of you. But it seems to me that what is unfair about that is the person who's walking down a public sidewalk with or without their own dog on a leash and sees someone coming towards them with a dog that's not leashed, you really have no way of knowing if that dog is really under effective control verbally or not. You don't know if your dog is going to be attacked by the bigger dog or the smaller dog. You don't really know. You don't have that. You don't have the comfort of seeing that dog on a leash, knowing that it's restrained that way. And that's kind of the problem I have with our current law. We've done a little bit of research in it, and it seems like generally our neighboring cities pretty much require a 6-foot leash. They do not allow for this verbal control thing. County laws pretty much do allow for being under verbal control. Little different situation in the county, there's not as many sidewalks, there's more space, less density of people. But the majority of cities such as Covington, Watkinsville, Eatonton, Brookhaven, Savannah, Atlanta is more like the county in terms of what they allow. But it seems like most of the cities do require a 6-foot leash and no verbal control thing. So I don't know if I rarely see dogs that are not leashed in Madison walking down the sidewalks. I really don't see it very often, but this one citizen has a kind of a consistent problem. Maybe it's a 1 or 2 dog problem. Maybe it's more widespread. I don't really know. I do know that if we think that law we currently have is really protecting our citizens because we have a leash law, I don't think that's really the case. It doesn't seem to me.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
I know you got a complaint from one citizen here in our city. Have you received any other complaints from any other citizens?
I have
about,
not. That's the first one that kind of got me into looking at what our law was about. So no, I have not.
Okay. How about Bethel, you want to respond to
Yeah,
that?
sure. Look, it's not like I completely oppose that. I don't oppose the fact that every dog should be on a leash. I know that's fairly standard. But I also would say that my main concern with this was us changing an ordinance based on one issue. Now, I know it's an issue, I mean, and I asked, was this something were other steps taken to resolve this? And I didn't necessarily get a straight-up answer. It sounded like that this wasn't really going to be able to be resolved otherwise, and I totally get that, and that's fine. You know, it sounds to me like there's this sort of, I don't know the situation. I don't know how that one constituent is feeling and about all of that. And again, I don't want anybody feeling uncomfortable when they're out walking their dogs. Personally, I know my dogs have perfect recall, and they're often not on the leash. But that's okay. I mean, even if we change the law, I'm not saying don't change it because I like to have my dogs off the leash. There's not that, but I do recognize that can be, and it sounds like, and again, and I get it, it sounds, I know this is a concern, but it sounds like even with the dog off the leash, that there hasn't been an issue, that dog has, what's the word? I mean, I feel like the dog has responded to its owner, has been under control of its owner that whole time. I mean, if not, it sounds to me there would be more. And again, I'm not necessarily supporting it one way or the other. My main concern is merely that can this be resolved elsewhere, and is it going to be our nature to change an ordinance based on one issue, one person? That's all. And that answer may be yes, and we may, as a council, decide that this is really in the best interest of the city, and I support that. That was just my question about what does it take to change an ordinance? Why do we change ordinances?
You know, I will say, Betsy, as I've kind of gotten into looking at this, I've talked to a number of people I know that walk their dogs, and every single person of them is in favor of a leash law. You know, and these are dog owners. You'd think one of them would, but they were all. That's probably, I would say, I talked to about 8 people. Not exactly a scientific study of what the population thinks, but just something to keep in mind. Any other comments from anybody else? Because it's just a discussion item. I don't know if it needs to have action taken or not, but.
I'll throw in, Mr. Mayor, if I may. I can see both sides of it. I was aware that we had a leash law or under verbal command of the owner. And I can tell you in my neighborhood, I walk my dog most days. Several of the folks who live there do. My dog doesn't have any manners. She needs to be on a leash, and she is. And same with some of my neighbors. But I do have somebody who I've not spoken with about it, but who has a German Shepherd, which is a big dog, kind of, could be intimidating to look at when you're walking a little dog. But he, I know, takes great pride in having his dog trained and through obedience class in school, and that dog walks just like he wants him to, right beside him, and never does anything. So, but I too don't think that having a leash is necessarily an issue. So I can see both sides of it and don't have any strong opinions of it. But
And if, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was wondering if you was gonna let me to speak or not. Just kidding, Bessie. I think I would see it both ways. I, for one, am not fond of dogs because I've had one chase my granddaughter. And I had to chase my granddaughter to keep my granddaughter from getting hit by a car because she was running from the dog that was not on the leash. So I just would like to know if the owner has spoken with the person that they saw walking their dog, the particular person that you're talking about. Have they spoke with the owner of that dog?
I do not know. It evidently has been a repeated situation with the same dog and owner, but whether they've
Right.
actually spoken to that or whether they've referred it to the police department.
That's what I was
There is,
thinking.
part of that ordinance, by the way, says the responsibility for enforcing these is the animal control unit or the Madison Police Department. So it's not a code enforcement issue. It's the police or
So
animal control.
I am in favor of leashes.
If I can just add one more thing, if I may. I think even in this regard, if when we have a leash law that says your dog doesn't have to be on a leash as long as it's under your control, your verbal control, I get that. But yet, I think that also sort of implies sort of a general courtesy with that, which I don't see that's happening here. For example, when I'm out walking my dogs, they're only off leash. Well, I only have one basically I let off leash, and he's off leash only when no one else is around and I see somebody coming or with another dog. I'll call him back. He'll come, I mean, he's only with about 3 feet of me anyway, but he'll come back and I'll put him on the leash for the comfort of that person, right? He doesn't have to be on a leash, but so that other person, and I feel like that's kind of common courtesy, but I understand that that's not written into the rule, and we do have to look at what the rule is as opposed to what one should do under common courtesy.
And I would suggest that we check our ordinance because we want the safety for our citizens and especially our children, you know. None of us know what a dog will do, you know. I think Councilmember Blanton said somebody had a big dog, looks like a teddy bear or something, I mean, and you know, he was gentle, you know. And I think, and we've had some children get bitten by dogs here in our city. And to me, a leash it doesn't take too much to put a dog on a leash. Only thing is, you just got him in your hand instead of him running wild. And I don't know who in here would like to be confronted with any kind of dog, you know. And if it doesn't take that much to put a dog on a leash, you know, whatever we need to do, change the ordinance, I guess. I think that our council needs to talk about it at our next work session, and let's get some clarity as to what we really need to do. If that's okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Sure. Thank you. Public service appointment. Before you come, and I know we have several appointments that we would like to make tonight. We have Ben Wibby with DDA. He has been to several work sessions and he have not had a chance to speak because our meeting was too long. So we're going to give him a chance to come up and just say something to us tonight. I think we know that they try so hard with DDA to get a downtown business person to serve on the DDA. So Ben, if you want to come and tell us why it's so important to have a downtown business person to be.
Thank you, Mayor, so much for that. You know, reason we'd like to have a downtown business person, because when you've got a person that's a downtown business, they understand how business operates. They understand cash flow, they understand values and everything of that nature, and so it's just a lot easier in the understanding, because what DDA does is we take property and we convert it and get it put on the tax basis. And so we have to do that through selling the property, promoting the property, and redeveloping the property. And so a lot of times, when you have a business owner, they understand that type of business more than someone who doesn't necessarily have a business. I know we've got 4 applicants for the position that we have open, and we were just simply saying, it really doesn't matter to us who y'all pick. I mean, we'll support anybody that you pick, but we would just, if we could prefer someone who owns a downtown business, that would be our preference.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Ken, if you'll come forward and,
Evening, everyone.
Okay.
As the mayor noted, we have several boards looking for appointments. I have them and can go through the list alphabetically by board, but since there is one applicant who's applied for 2 different boards, I'll leave it up to you whether you want to, and that would be Guy Roberts, who's applied for both Corridor Design Commission and Downtown Development Authority. So I don't know if you want to take care of DDA first, and that way we'd know whether he was appointed to that and we didn't need to.
Well, if I could interject on the case
Yeah.
of Mr. Roberts, he is one of my constituents, and since he's the only applicant to Corridor, he was very pleased to be able to serve on Corridor and be willing to give up his candidacy for the DDA.
Well, then it sounds like alphabetical will work just fine tonight. And we'll just take him off of the DDA, assuming he gets appointed. Okay, so first up is Cemetery Stewardship Commission. You have 1 unexpired term and 1 applicant, Diane McNamara. And so if you see fit to appoint her, then go right ahead.
what council member represents?
That would be me. She took over Flynn Clyburn's house up on Billups. And you can tell they're got a very good resume there, and do you want to just take votes? You want a motion and a second? or-
Let's just get a motion. and
Okay,
second
I move to
forward.
accept Diane McNamara to the position of Cemetery Stewardship Commission.
Are there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, is none, vote unanimously. Thank you.
Okay, and as mentioned, Corridor Design Commission, we have 1 full term available and 1 applicant, and that would be Guy Roberts.
Mr. Blunt, that's in your district, I believe?
Yes, he is, and as I said, he is more than pleased to be assigned or elected to that position. So I move that we approve Guy Roberts for Corridor Design Commission.
Second?
Are there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, is none, vote unanimously.
All right, next is Downtown Development Authority. We have now 3 applicants, and our procedure has been for each council member, in this case, would have 1 vote, and vote for one of the applicants, and then we'll look to see if someone has a majority, and in that case, it would be a kind of a slate, and a motion would be made to appoint that person. So I'm just going to go down the line here. Eric, do you have a person that you would like to see?
Well, my understanding, we had 2 terms. What happened there? Have I misunderstood something?
I believe we're anticipating another one to open up, but there's only 1 term right now. There is someone who's going to,
Stacy Bassett indicated she'd be leaving us in June.
I thought she had already resigned. Is that not the case?
She said she was thinking about it, I believe at the February meeting.
Did we see anything, I mean, I don't know, am I wrong that we were looking at 2 candidates for this position? For this-
I was aware that one would be coming up, they thought, in the
Okay.
near future, but
Okay, I would vote for Pastor Benford,
okay.
who I might add does own a business in the town.
Rick?
Pastor Benford?
Carrie?
Pastor Benford.
Betsy? Okay.
Okay.
I think we have a majority,
Right.
I'd say.
so if someone would like to make a
Get a
motion.
motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Opposes none? Vote unanimously. Thank
And
you.
I will say, since we anticipate another opening soon, we will keep Griffin Reynolds and Chantel White's applications, consider them still viable when it comes up. Housing Opportunity Commission, again, we have one term and 2 applicants, so we'll do the same. The applicants are Hannah Savard and Kendra Wyatt, and we'll go the opposite way. So Betsy,
Well, may I ask first?
Sure.
Since Carrie's a liaison on that
that makes sense, yes.
council, commission, would you have any comments with either of those candidates, Carrie?
I would vote Kendra Wyatt. I know Kendra Wyatt, so I can't say anything about Hannah, what's her last name?
Savard,
Savard. I've read her, her application, but I definitely already know Kendra Wyatt.
And you feel like she would?
An amazing job, yes.
Okay, super. I would vote for Kendra Wyatt.
okay. Carrie, I think we know.
Kendra Wyatt.
Rick
Kendra Wyatt.
and Eric.
Hannah Savard.
Okay, so we have a majority for Kendra Wyatt. If someone would like to
So we
make
get
that
a
motion.
motion?
So moved.
For?
Second.
So moved for Kendra Wyatt for the Housing Opportunity Commission.
Second, Betsy?
Yes, second.
Are there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposes none? Vote unanimously. Thank you so much.
All right, Planning and Zoning Commission, we have 1 full term and 1 applicant, Kayla Andrews.
I move that we appoint Kayla Andrews to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Second.
Are there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposes none? Vote unanimously.
And last but not least, Public Arts Commission, 1 unexpired term, and Emmy Smock has applied for it.
I make a motion that we approve for Emmy Smock to be on the Public Arts Commission.
Second.
Are there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposes none? Vote unanimously.
All right, and I think this means that all our boards are fully, which has been a while. Some of them are harder to fill than others, so thank you very much for taking care of this tonight.
Thank you, Ken. Appreciate
Thanks,
that
Ken.
so much. Are there any comments from the public tonight? Yes, Diane.
Good evening. I am Diane Yost, and I live in Valley Farm, and I'm the citizen who talked to Eric about the dog leash situation. I am a dog lover. I love all dogs. I even like pit bulls if I know them, and if they're on a leash, if I see them outside. I've lived here 30 years, and I've always heard we had a leash law. And I didn't realize we did not have a leash law until I've run into several incidents. I'm a big walker, and I walk by myself a lot. I walk with my animals a lot. And when I'm with my animals, if I see someone with a dog not on a leash, it frightens me greatly because I've got little dogs, and I love them. Anyway, and people will think, oh, don't worry, this dog is fine, and then bam, they're running after me. So it's happened more than once. I live in a little community, in a little neighborhood called Valley Farm, and we do have an issue. There is one in particular gentleman walking a pit bull. He's probably about 75 pounds, if not more. He walks him without a leash. So I have spoken to him, and I'm sure he dislikes me, or there's that old lady. But my fear, I've talked to many in my community, there is not one person in Valley Farm who's happy about it, I can tell you that. And he cuts through our meadows sometimes, and I think that's great. We have a lot of dog walkers. Most people are walking their dogs on a leash when they come through Valley Farm. But there was one evening, and our board was meeting, and they were like, can we can we stop people from walking down our roads with dog? And I'm like, I don't think so. These are city roads. So it's not just Valley Farm either. There are a lot of walkers I know on Markham's Hill who have run into this fellow, and it frightens people. So just know when you're debating about this, when you're saying everybody should have a leash, okay, let's look at dangerous dogs. Dangerous dogs are like pit bulls, chow chows, German shepherds, what is the other, Rottweilers. So you're giving someone permission to walk without a leash with their Rottweiler or with their pit bull. I know we all remember the tragic situation that happened in Appalachia Woods, right, when a woman was mauled nearly to death by a pit bull, by two pit bulls. I have called the police. They do nothing, and they sent me to, they listened to me, and probably because I said, look, and I've spoken to this man, I said, please put that dog on a leash when you're walking through our community. We have a lot of small children and a lot of small pets, and our fences are not very high. A lot of, and people when they see them, they'll make their children walk inside because they're afraid. We don't know, if there were a rule and we had some great person who could say, I can test this dog and give you permission to walk it without a leash, that might be a solution, but I don't know. I mean, I just want you to think about that, think about small children, think about people walking with other dogs, and when they're out in our community. We have a walkable, my situation is I want it to be safe. And I didn't want to bring a big crowd tonight, but if I need to get people to write letters, I would like to do that, and I'll have them send them to you, Eric. But thank you so much for hearing me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may, just a correction for the council. For the record, we do have a leash law. It just is not a perfect leash law, but we do have a leash law.
Mr. Mayor, point of information, I'm sorry to go back here, but I'm looking at the Downtown Development Authority agenda. I'm really sorry. I didn't realize you were there. Please, I'll wait.
I just want to speak on behalf of our furry friends. I live in Valley Farm with Diane. I have a friendly dog, very well controlled. We have a meadow in Valley Farm that's probably about 20 acres. I take my small friendly dog down there, and I take the leash off the dog when she gets to the meadow, and she loves to run around. And puppies do like to run around, and dogs do need some freedom. So I would just caution you on rewriting this ordinance to have certain restrictions, and there are certain exceptions to it. Because if you're going to tell me I can't take my dog down the meadow, and an empty meadow that's 20 acres, and can't take her off her leash, I guess I'll get fined every day because I'm going to be down there with my dog, letting her run freely for 10 minutes a day.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay. Councilman Joyce.
I was just looking, I'm kind of going back here, what we just voted on here. I'm looking at the agenda from last month's meeting of the DDA, and it shows 2 vacancies. It shows the current members on that agenda are Bob Bell, Nancy Lanius, Carrie McAllister, Julie Spire, and Ben Whitby. But it shows 2 vacancies on that, and I'm not quite sure how we get from 2 vacancies on last month's agenda to what is now tonight 1 vacancy. What have I missed, Mr. Mayor?
I guess I have to talk to DDA. Monica's coming up.
Yes, sir, being elected, we do it.
So at the time that we were doing the agenda, Ken called me and asked me how many vacancies, and I indicated that we had 2, because Ms. Bassett had indicated that she was probably going to roll off. She was attending that meeting virtually, and I believe you were in the room, so you probably heard that. Then Ben had a conversation with her, and my understanding is she is staying through her committee's work, which is supposed to finish by this fiscal year. And so she indicated that she would submit her resignation upon completion of the work that she was assigned. And so my understanding is that should be before council over the next couple of months. I'm trying not to say what I'm not supposed to say. And at the conclusion of that work that she's headed up, she's going to step off the board. That's my understanding.
I do wish in the future we get informed of that, because some of us go to citizens, we encourage them to apply thinking we've got X number of openings, and when it
Right.
turns out to not to be the case, we have disappointed citizens and wasted time by council.
I understand that. Had anybody asked Ben, I think Ben would have been able to tell them that, or, and I'm sorry if I should have stepped up and communicated that more clearly. We were worried about addressing some planning commission shift to the housing issues, and that's what I focused on, and wasn't worried about the number. So staff's here every day. You want to give us a call? We're happy to answer it every day.
Thanks, Monica. And Ms. Jones, I would ask you if you would, please, I know you said that you're going to have your constituents to address the letters to Councilmember Joyce, but if you would have them to address them to our city clerk, and that way she can distribute them to all of our council members. Thank you so much. Any more public comments? Just a couple of announcements. I believe that our chief is having district meetings here starting on February the 19th with District 1. And I believe on February the 24th, Mayor Pro Tem Reed is having a District 1 meeting, I believe, at St. Paul Baptist Church to discuss
We can ask
the
Pastor.
Dr. Rodney Andrews Park.
Yes, sir, we can ask Pastor Carter to come up and speak on that if he would like. If that's okay with you,
Yeah, that's
Mr. Mayor.
fine.
I'm not a part of the committee, so I would like for the committee to come up and speak on it. So thank you, Pastor Carter.
Don't give a preacher a mic. Thank you so much. I just want to make the announcement. It's not St. Paul Baptist Church, it's St. Paul AME Church. We're having a work session on the Dr. Rodney Andrews on Memorial Park. We're asking the citizens, family and citizens, anybody else to come out and give their input, and we would like to invite the planning committee also. We would value Monica's, your opinions. We value that. And so we would like to invite everybody to come out and share this experience with us. We're very proud of the fact that the park has been named for such a outstanding citizen and son of Madison. So we'd like to invite you to come out on February 24th at 6 o'clock at St. Paul AME Church. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. If there are no more comments, this ends our meeting tonight. We're going to go into an executive session to discuss legal matters. So if we could get a motion from my council to go into executive session.
I so move, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, if none, we will head into executive session. Thank you.